Hello, everyone. My guest today is Adalberto Flores. He's the CEO of Kueski, the fastest micro-leading service for Latin America. Adalberto is a seasoned executive with experience in the financial and software industries. Before founding his new venture Kueski, Adalberto started, grew, and managed all operations of Ooyala Mexico, the largest international division of Ooyala. Adalberto, it's such a pleasure to have you on the show today.
Thomas, thank you very much for having me, and congratulations on the podcast, The Entrepreneur Insight. I really like the initiative, and I look forward to chatting with you.
Thank you so much, man. So you have had great success as an executive, but also as an entrepreneur in your past, but also current career. So tell the audience and tell us a little bit more about you and how you got to where you are today.
I think it all started when I was small, when I was young. I think I was like 8 years old, and I wanted to buy a couple of toys. And I remember my father said that if he gave me those toys free of cost, I would never value how important it is or how difficult it is to actually earn money with your own work. So he said he was going to give me the tools so I could actually work with him and kind of like in the house and just like kind of learn about working ethic, if I can say it this way. And then I could earn money so I can buy those toys. And I remember when that happened, it was so difficult, and it took me so much time for me to work and buy those toys. So I'm like, oh boy, I think I want to save that money and continue working, and maybe and then maybe I can buy a bigger toy. And then when that happened, and when I had the money for the bigger toy, I was like, like this actually, like work is actually difficult. So what about if I can invest that money? And I told my father, hey, like I've heard about you doing kind of like investing in the stock market, and I'm only like 8 to 10 years old. I don't remember what the exact age, but I cannot invest. But what about if I give you the money I earned and you can help me invest into the stock market? So he helped me invest into the stock market. I started kind of like doing it. He started reporting what happened with the stock market, and I kind of like started understanding the implications of the compound interest. And then I started managing my sister's money, and I reported to her on a monthly basis, the results of her money invested into the stock market. So I think I kind of like I thought about and then at the same time I was also kind of like I bought some candies and sold them in the kind of like in the neighborhood and made some additional money from that. So I think it was a combination between kind of like my father teaching me work ethics, teaching me how to, the importance of getting, working for money and saving money and investing the money and managing the money and just in general, kind of like that, that you need to work hard if you want to, buy stuff or you're going to, in this case, it was toys, but, you have to, it's actually difficult, right? So that actually impacted my life in many aspects, and that's how I got started.
Got it. No, I love that. And I think that's actually really great, basically an initiative from your parents that they, said, if you want this, work for it. And I think that's the best way to actually learn it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
So what does, just for the listeners to understand it, so what does the company Kueski do and how do you make money?
Yeah, so we, our goal is that we actually could give access to financial services to the middle class of Mexico. And then once we, finish doing that, or we are at a specific stage of the company, our goal is that we actually expand to other parts of Latin America. The way you can give access to financial services, there's a bunch of ways you can do that, but we decided that we wanted to start giving access to people through credit, because credit is the potential of credit is incredible. Like you can actually, if you give access to credit to micro entrepreneurs, they can build their own businesses, or they can continue growing their businesses, and then they can grow exponentially themselves. So and in terms of the credit products that we started with, we currently have 2 products. We have a direct lending product that people can go into the website or the mobile app, and they can apply for a loan. They fill out the questionnaire, and we give them a loan somewhere between, from $25 up to almost $1,000. It's a micro loan for micro. The biggest segment of our customers are micro entrepreneurs. And then the other product that we have is a purchase finance product or a point of sale financing product, similar to Klarna in Europe or Affirm in the United States, or Afterpay in one aspect in Australia. And what we do is we go and we integrate into the checkouts of merchants, online merchants, and we enable customers to buy things online, even though they don't have a credit card, or if you don't want to use a credit card. And both products are really relevant in Mexico. So just as a context, 82% of the people in Mexico do not have a credit card, and 60% of the people in Mexico do not have a debit card. So
holy shit, I didn't know that. That's crazy.
Yeah. So there's in a country with with more than 125 million people, I think there's a significant opportunity to give access to financial services.
Yeah, definitely. So when you build up the company, it's always, or it's never easy to build a company like that, especially kind of like in the fintech industry. So give us your top 3 resources that have helped you along the way to build up that company successfully and also raise a lot of money successfully.
So I would say I was able to surround myself with a lot of mentors. And it's either mentors or people that I built a friendship with, or I used to work with before, that enabled me to just kind of like understand the challenges that we were going to be facing in the future. And these challenges could be from just like, building a company and structuring the company so you can actually raise capital from investors and build a stock option pool and recruiting executives. From the technologies we use machine learning and AI to do the credit underwriting in a matter of seconds. And those technologies are complicated, but we used to work in Ooyala, which uses machine learning technology as well. So it was easier, for us to kind of like learn from there how to apply that to credit and financial services. So I think that was relevant. I think in my case, I also I was able to have a connection with, because I used to work in Ooyala. I spent in Ooyala, Mexico. I spent 1 month of my time in the United States, in San Francisco and the Bay Area, just like kind of like reporting to the headquarters. So I was able to build the network there. And one of the investors that initially invested in our seed round was somebody that I met in the Bay Area, and that I actually started building a relationship with him in the Bay Area. And he's the one that actually led the seed round, and that trickled down towards us being able to raise a subsequent financing round. And then moreover, in terms of like as a fintech company and as specifically as a lending company, I think that like the values that we have as a company and that we as a founding team kind of like implemented into the company and actually looked for in the company are very important for financial services companies. So prudence is one of the values. So we're in credit is a very tricky product, because if you want to grow, you sometimes sacrifice credit quality, and making sure you have a prudent team not only on the credit perspective, but also on the regulatory perspective. There's a bunch of areas that you need to be very prudent. That was very critical. And then just like making sure that we are very much looking forward to kind of like complying with every single law and making sure that we did everything correctly. And there, for us, it's there's law is it's more black and white than it is gray zones. Like we try to make sure that we want to do things correctly and be in peace with ourselves. and we try to do things with high integrity and high honorability. And those pieces of the cultures is really important in a company where, like right now we're probably, close to having 300 people working in the company. We've actually lent
Wow.
more than 2.5
Congratulations.
million. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we've lent more than 2.5 million loans through a platform, which is more than $300 million that we've actually lent. It's as companies grow and as companies scale, and especially as a lending company, making sure you're prudent and you have high integrity is actually really important.
Got it. So during your journey, can you name us 3 people except your family that have been most influential to you during your journey?
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say when I used to live in China, I traveled to China in 2004 and 2005.
Where in China did you
I
live?
was actually in Shanghai.
Oh, nice.
I live
I've
in
been there
Shanghai.
too. Been there too.
Oh, nice. Yeah,
It's
absolutely. I love
amazing.
Shanghai.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I China joined the WTC. The WTO, the World Trade Organization. I think it was in the year 2001, and I was like, I think China is going to be a relevant country for the global economy. So I think I might just go and try to learn Chinese. So I went to China, and I bumped into an investor from he's from the United States, and his name is Daryl Brookstein. And I told him, hey, I know you're trying to do research on nanotechnology in China, and I'm gonna go to China, and I can offer you for free, doing research for you on what's happening in nanotechnology in China, because nobody a lot of people in the United States speak about nanotechnology in China, but nobody actually knows about what's happening in China. So I did that for free. He became my mentor, and he helped me, and he coached me, and I think I learned a bunch of him. So his name is Daryl Brookstein. And then that's one person. And then the other person is like the founder of Ooyala, the founding CEO of Ooyala, and he's currently the CEO of a company called Wi-Fi, which has probably like about 500 engineers here in Guadalajara. It's a company here in Guadalajara, and his name is Bismarck Lepe. He's a Mexican entrepreneur born near Los Angeles that lives in the Bay Area. He's a serial entrepreneur, and I think I was, before I joined the company, he was my mentor. I had a previous company before joining Ooyala, and he was our mentor, and he became my manager and my leader when I was working in the company. And then once I left the company, he became the investor of Kueski, my current company. So I think he was very, very influential, and he coached me a bunch of stuff, and I learned a lot about building companies and recruiting people and building products and managing investors and things like that. And then last but certainly not least, I would say Shinya Akamine. He's a Japanese. She used to be a Japanese investor and entrepreneur. When he was born in Japan early, and then early in his childhood, he moved to the United States, and he became my mentor when I was working in Ooyala, and he's the one that actually led the seed round of Kueski, and he helped me build, raise the initial seed financing round, and he helped me raise some raise more capital from other investors from the United States on subsequent financing rounds, and he was just, when I say he was, it's because he passed away a couple of months ago. So that was a big loss for me. But he was just an incredible person and an incredible professional. So he was not only a very successful person, he was one of the founders of Postini, which was acquired by Google for a little bit more than $600 million. But he was a very really good investor. He was partner of a fund called Core Ventures Group, based in San Francisco. But at the same time, he was a fantastic person, and he really cared about values like integrity and gender inclusion and gender opportunity and diversity and like he was just like he was those type of successful and nice people that wanted to make the world a better place. And I think he influenced the company and the culture a lot. So he was also very important. Shinji Akamine, that's his name.
Got it. Well, that sounds like three super interesting people. But let's jump back to you. What do you think that your core trait is that has helped you to become successful?
I would say curiosity. Like I'm a very curious person, and I try to I think I read a lot, and I think whenever I have a question, I just go and ask people.
Yeah.
And whenever I have so curiosity is a strong one. Like I think I identify myself with you, Thomas, a lot, because you've mentioned that one of the reasons you started this podcast was because you used to speak with a lot of very successful people, and you wanted to kind of like record that. So I think I feel myself like I'm very curious and very kind of like proactive and just going and either reading about the specific topic or just like kind of like going and approaching people and speaking with them. So that's actually an incredible trait. I would say curiosity, and then the other one I would say it's resilience, or some people would say like grit. So basically, being a founder is incredibly difficult, and this is the first, Kueski is the first company that I've actually raised significant amount of funding and institutional investing, etc. But I've been trying different type of companies before, and it's and the reality is that being a founder, in most of the cases, it's actually humiliating, because you want to raise capital from investors and they turn you down. You want to recruit executives and they turn you down. You want to sell your product to customers and they turn you down. So sometimes, entrepreneurs portray themselves as heroes, and that it's actually a fantastic lifestyle. But the reality is, it's pretty much humiliating and hard work, and you know what I mean. So I think you need to have a bunch of resilience as well. I think those are the kind of like the two ones that I think about.
Yeah, no, I think those are good or really good core traits. So just we're running out of time here. Really quickly, I want to know, where do you think that your industry goes, first of all, in the next 5 years and then in the next 30 years?
So I think in the next 5 years, I think we're going to start seeing a lot of bundling. So fintech started as the unbundling of a bank. So you saw companies focused on a bunch of somebody was focused on payments, and a company was focused on lending, and company was focused on wealth management. I think you're going to see a bunch of bundling and companies offering a lot of services themselves, and essentially becoming kind of like quasi banks or semi banks, if I could say it this way. And so bundling is an important one. And then we're going to see big techs entering the space, either doing financial services themselves or not, or partnering with other financial services. So we see Google with Google Pay, and they recently announced that we're going to be offering banking, checking accounts and credits. You see Apple partnering with Goldman Sachs. You see Facebook with Facebook Pay and Calibra and Libra. So you're going to start seeing Uber money, things like that. So in the 5 years, I think that's going to happen. And in 30 years, I believe that the most important industry in the next 30 years is going to be financial services. And I think financial services is going to probably become kind of like a platform. And it's, the line is going to be blurred. You know what I mean? Like it's similar to what happened with you see Facebook. It started with media. So Facebook is kind of like a media company. That's actually their revenue model, but Facebook is much more than just a media company. It's a technology company. They do, it's a social networking company, etc. The line is going to be blurred. So it's financial services is going to be fintech is going to be a platform, and you're going to see it, and every single or a bunch of companies are going to use it in order to leverage better products for the users.
Yeah, really good explanation. I think that's very good explanation for everyone who doesn't know or who has not that much knowledge in the industry. That's really good. So let's wrap this up here with the fantastic four. Question number one: is there a CEO that you're following or studying right now?
I follow a bunch of CEOs, but there's somebody that I follow with ultimate passion, which is not this. He's a vice chairman, and his name is Charlie Munger. He's a partner of Warren Buffett. I read a book. Yeah, do you know him? So I read a book called Poor Charlie's Almanac, and it's just that book changed my life. So absolutely. So I'm a big fan of Charlie Munger, and one of the things I want to do is I want to have the opportunity to approach to Charlie Munger and ask him for an autograph if I can see him. So I'm a big fan of Charlie Munger and the way he builds mental models and his lifestyle and how he reads and how he's just an incredible wise person. So I'm a big fan of Charlie Munger.
Got it. Okay, next question. Do you have any routines that you strictly follow on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah. So typically, I try to, probably almost every single day or 5 days out of a 7-day week. I typically I go on the treadmill and I run for like about 45 minutes. And every time I run, I actually have a book that I'm listening to through Audible.
That's great,
so
man.
It's something that I always do. Yeah, exactly. And that's how I continue reading. Like something, being a CEO, you have a bunch of stuff you need to do. So I typically do that a lot. I read a lot. And I keep myself healthy. So that's one point. And then on the Wednesdays, I try not to go to the office because I want to just go ahead and read and think as a CEO and as a leader of the company. And then on the weekends, I try to read a lot as well and just catch up on emails. So those are kind of like the things that I typically do.
Got it. So the thing on Thursday is interesting to me. Is it kind of like a strategy session that you then do for yourself?
Yes, exactly. So what I do, what I try to do is I say no meetings on Wednesday. I'm just going to be in my house, just either reading a book or thinking or having kind of like meetings with people that are interesting, or just on my computer reading articles. And just like, staying away from the day-to-day operations of the company to it's more like trying to think in the future and what's going to happen in the next 5 years, what's going to happen in the next 30 years, and how are we positioning ourselves so it's becoming successful in those changes. So it's kind of like a self-reflection type of activity that I do.
Got it. No, I love that. That's great. What's your favorite social media platform for business, and what do you specifically use it for?
Interesting. That's an interesting question. So I am starting to like, and very recently, by the way, I'm starting to understand how powerful it is for you to follow specific people in Twitter and just learn how are they thinking on a day-to-day basis on any specific aspect. So I follow people like, the typical ones like Elon Musk, Paul Graham, Bill Gurley. Those people or like Ben Thompson. Like those people have interesting ideas, and just I follow their tweets and I get an alert every time they publish something. It's just interesting to see how they're thinking. They share articles, and then I go and read those articles, and those are typically interesting. So I like using Twitter a lot. But to be honest, I opened Twitter years ago, but I didn't learn about the interesting thing about that until just a few months ago.
Got it. Okay, last question, Adalberto. What do you wish you would have started when you were 20 years old?
Can you repeat the question again?
What do you wish you would have started when you were 20 years old?
Oh, so I wish I would have read Poor Charlie's Almanac when I was 21 years old, and I read it every single year from there,
Oh, wow.
remembering what it says. Yes.
Crazy.
And then I wish I wish I would have invested in Amazon stock. I should have like sold my car and invested in Amazon stock when I was 21 years old. And I remember Bitcoin, even though I'm not a huge fan of cryptocurrencies, or at least I like stable coins more than cryptocurrencies. But I think when Bitcoin was actually starting in the Bay Area, and the cost was actually really low, I heard about Bitcoin, and I kind of like my logic was like, well, that's interesting, but I'm not gonna think about it until it's actually popular. So I should have just like invested like $1,000, at that point of time, and then just like kind of like that could have been another interesting thing. But the reality is that's too material. Like the reality is I should have actually read Poor Charlie's Almanac when I was 21 years old and read it every single year after year.
Got it. Thank you so much for being on the show, Adalberto.
Thank you very much.